Hello and welcome to another modelling video. This is Alan from the Makona Man at YouTube with another model review. Today we'll be looking at the MS-06J Zaku 2 depicted in the 8th MS team. This is the old high grade kit that came with the ground type Gundam that a friend and I shared many years ago. Fortunately I had a falling out with that individual, but finding this kit as one of the oldest items at the bottom of my backlog and requiring to build a large quantity of Zakus, it was perfect to pull out. This model is absolutely ancient. There's two kits in one box. It has components that are very similar. You see in the Victory and Wing kits, which were absolutely terrible. And unfortunately this kit is not too far behind. It's got very cheesy detail and not very flattering panel lines. Unfortunately this model did not work out to my tastes or interest whatsoever. The panel lines all over the place was very time consuming. The proportions and detail just so closely signified a lot of the kits from the 80s. It wasn't funny, and the overall feel of it was very meh. I absolutely hated the proportions and overall look of this Zaku. A lot of the parts were not uniform with the others, which made it interesting and fun for the gun, but the shoulder shield and everything else far problematic. What I did like was the open cavity and detailing in the chest, so I cut that piece in half and showed that off, and the opening on top of the head, which I definitely will take advantage of. So the challenge of this kit not really working out for me is turning out to be suitable for my Gunpla Builders World Cup diorama. The first challenge was filling all of those multiple seam lines, and that involved running super glue down them and then applying squadron putty. Second problem was with all of those many panel lines, which every single one of them were covered with putty, leading to quite a bit of tedious sand work. Then I cracked into my Bradley leftover pieces for a tank model kit I was working on. Lots of reactive armor, lots of detailed armor, and just small tanky bits from a dragon kit, renowned for a lot of small pieces, styrene and whatnot, and just went crazy cutting up styrene sheets and just making all these squarish armor plates, either showing off Russian style reactive armor or Chinese style brigandine medieval ancient armor. Just having a lot of fun playing around with the shape, proportions, and overall detail. The majority of the styrene plates were made by getting 1mm or half mil styrene sheet, cutting strips of a certain length, be it 8mm, 5mm, 10mm, and then cutting it across the same distance with a hobby knife on a cutting board, which you can see in some of the pictures. Then gluing each individual piece in order while listening to music. Believe it or not, as tedious as that looked, this process was actually quite fun strategically when to put all of these plates. The downside was posting these work in progress pictures on Facebook and some open communities, sort of, fishing for more of a larger audience on YouTube and Facebook, received a lot of poor criticism in its research, design, and presentation. So, nonetheless, for a kit that I didn't initially like the look of, enjoyed, started to become quite fun to build. I really like how the detail popped out. A lot of these plates weren't to actually signify detail, but more so of texture. The kit was to be given a very heavy paint coat of different sort of rusts and green shades to show all sorts of weathering and battle damage, with a heavy wash to just pick everything up. So in the end it's just background texturing, a lot like the Zimmerit kits I've made of the past. Once the majority of these parts were applied, most of it was plastic cement. For the areas that had heavy putty on it, had to be super glued on. There was a bit of excess glue all over the place. The pictures do look a tad rough. After a few days of sufficient drying, everything was sanded down with sandpaper, primed with Mr. Surfacer 500, sanded down, primed a second time, sanded down, then a third time with 1500. This sort of made the texture go down to quite a smooth consistency, and that looked far more natural than some sort of jumbled styrene mess. That wasn't too difficult at all. Painting was done via airbrush in lacquers, a process of pre-shading black lines on all the edges, colouring areas with different brown or oranges, applying hairspray and salt, the salt chipping technique, and then a few more layers of different browns, finishing off with a green coat, and then shading lighter tones of green on top of that. Once everything was dry and quite solid, the salt was chipped off using a toothbrush and going under running water to expose what is underneath. Then each piece was sludge washed with Tamiya accent colour. I just used a larger brush and wiped it back. A couple of coats of clear. Then assembled, having a look at all the pieces. Some small areas were hand painted and dry brushed, including the guns and other detail. Once assembled, some areas had to be glued down with PVA glue. Some of the lower half of the kit and areas that have shadowing was shaded with a bit of black. Everything was finally hit with Tamiya clear matte, and we've got a bit of a finished kit. The final step, of course, adding a bit of jewellery flat back gem into the eye for the mono eye. In the end, the complexion and scheme did come out kind of dark, probably a little too dark for my tastes. Though how everything blended together, the weathering, the shadowing, the inking, and just that tonnage or cluster of detail, I'm absolutely honest, very, very happy. It's more than good enough to be just a background grunt piece on the Gunpla Builders World Cup diorama. Love the head and chest piece. A lot of the individual tank details here and there among the armor platings worked well, and overall just having fun chopping up all these bits and pieces and not being too focused on a heavy modification like other projects was really relaxing and relieving. Would definitely like to make a kit very similar to this on a different subject matter. Unfortunately, I thought sharing the majority of these pictures, since there's so many questions regarding pla plating and styrene modifications, sharing it would be of help to others of many different ways of chopping up styrene and applying it to models for different effects. The community did not really approve of this model, so I'm not sharing this out too far anymore. But overall, I don't see too much wrong with it. The techniques are quite easy, of just being quite artistic and just exploring with chopping up plastic to shapes you desire of a reasonable neatness, and applying it where you please or where it makes sense to you to put it. Overall, I recommend everyone should have a bit of a go, having a bit of a play with styrene sheets. Start small, bits and pieces here, and work your way up. All in all, regardless of the controversial nature, in the end I've had fun. A lot of my friends have enjoyed this build. I've definitely enjoyed the building process, and it's got a satisfactory outcome. All is good in the world. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, until next time, always stay tuned for further builds, reviews. Comment section's always open, and I'm happy to respond, and we will catch you all next time. Peace out.